Temple will be our arena for the first in its best of 5 series. This is an elimination match in the round of 16, the DreamHack Austin Tournament 2016. It's my pleasure to bring you our first competitor from Team Envious. In the red trunks, playing Zerg to the southeast position, it is Violet. Versus his opponent, straight out of Europe in the blue trunks, playing Zerg to the northwest position, Team Liquid, Snoot.
Zerg shirt spotted. And also I'd like to give a shout out, it could never be said enough, our awesome camera work here is done by the magnificent Flo.
Who is going to be feeling extremely tired by the end of today, I think.
She does have 18 hours of camera work ahead of her. So, Flo, I know that...
Esports is an easy job, by the way, if you didn't already realize.
She's so excited, though. She'd honestly do it for 30 hours if she could. In fact, we're going to kind of see what we can do to just string these games together. But you were talking about this, John, in the pregame. There it is. We're seeing a lot more kind of hatch first openings, but we're also seeing kind of the classic dynamic here, actually. We do have Snoot opting for the earlier pool and Zerglings, and that seems to be kind of the classic ZvZ matchup where it's like one guy opts for the fast expand, and the other's going to be sneaky Petey here with some Zerglings. They're going the other way around. They're hoping not to get spotted.
Yeah, I mean, you are right, actually, yes. He's moving around the traditional Overlord flight path to make sure he doesn't get spotted with that, because that's an abnormal number of early Zerglings. You know, you're looking at 8, which... Yeah, okay, 2 to 4 maybe, just put a little bit of pressure, but I mean, he's going up to 10, and he's hoping to be able to outnumber his opponent, who was probably building the standard 4 to 6. And this might work, you know, 8 versus 6, but right now it's 6 and 6, and he's sneaking right around. Wow, Snoot's pathing here is really well planned out.
It's good. And the other kind of bad thing here for Violet, too, is his Zerglings do not have a speed upgrade coming up behind it. So while he has a decent number of them, if they're outnumbered out in the field, they will not be going anywhere. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. But it's going to be 2 ships passing in the night here. The Zerglings going to pull up, see kind of a beginning of a hat. Oh, there's the Zerglings, and they're going to be in trouble because they will not have any escape route. More Zerglings coming out. And right now he's thinking, wow.
Oh, that's not good at all.
No,
that is a really, really bad start. And Violet is taking damage as well. Queen's down, and Snoot already with an early pickoff. I mean, that's huge to take a Queen so early.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one of the 2 Queens that were out there. They're trying to get an Overlord. It's going to die. This drone will die as well.
God, what a great starting
Snoot
push
has huge
here.
Zerglings behind this, too.
I mean, he's realized I've got some blood in the water here. We can go for it. Violet is building a Roach Swarm. It's going to take time for those Roaches to get out. Speed is now kicking in. Speed's not even started for Violet. So here we go. This is an opportunity for a really early map victory, potentially for Snoot as he attempts to get in there, but solid defense so far from the Queen. They're still heavily outnumbered, however.
A couple of drones die for Violet. He still has an economic lead. Now, if any of these Roaches can get out, great angle on that Queen, by the way, in between the crystals there. It probably will die, but it's going to take down as many Zerglings as it possibly can. And the Roaches, another good angle. Actually, there's a pretty decent surround there. Never mind.
Oh, Snoot wants the hatch, and I think he can get it. He's got more speed. Zerglings coming in to back that up. Roaches coming in to reinforce. However, the hatchery is very, very low. He's got the surround. It's going on 100 HP. It's down. And that's beautiful. Just get the hell out of there. Slow Roaches will take about 5 years to get across the map. You've done huge damage right now. Take it. Build up. Do something. He's actually going to put another Roach War in there. I think he's just going to try and put the nail in the coffin here because the amount of damage he's done early on is so good.
Zerglings against Roaches, not a super great matchup for those Zerglings. But the nice thing going on here for Snoot is there's speed Zerglings somewhere out there. Violet knows that. So you would think, well, he's like, okay, I'm behind. I need to send these Roaches out there and do some damage or apply some pressure. But if he does that, there's going to be backdoor Zerglings coming at him.
Yeah, so that means that you've got to see a defensive play out of Violet, but that means you see a defensive play on 1 mining base at the moment as he reestablishes that destroyed hatchery, which gives Snoot a huge economic lead. I mean, he already has a drone lead, and he's mining from 2 bases. Though the risk, of course, of Violet is if this goes on too long, he mines out his main base really quickly, especially in Legacy of the Void. It's much faster to mine out your main, and as a result, he has to expand and spread his defenses more thinly. Lovely pick off of the Creep Tumor there. Just an elegant little move there by Snoot.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, you would think to yourself, well, creep benefits both players. Why would you pick that off? Well, the slow Roaches right now are more valuable to Violet getting out on the map and being able to connect the bases, so it's nice for Snoot to pick that off. I do want to draw attention, though. The drone lead is actually, it's quite back and forth. It's kind of close, and that you got to give credit where credit's due. Violet took minimal losses there. It could have been a lot worse for him.
I mean, it could have been game-ending damage.
Exactly. And to be fair, he is behind, like you said. I absolutely agree with that. but not so far behind that this game's a formality and we're just like, hey, Violet, get out of the game. It's actually, there is some room here for Violet to get back into this. And while he lost the hatch, took some damage, considering how these openings went, he did okay for himself.
No doubt about that. This is where Zerg versus Zerg gets very interesting. It gets very cerebral because what we're seeing here are some really key decisions made between balancing how many workers you produce and how many units you produce. And you've got to know, based on limited information, what your opponent is doing, because if you overcommit to either of them, you end up at the disadvantage.
A bit of a scary moment right now. Snoot's actually going to just go ahead and attack. He is down 5 drones. That's because he's been making these units.
He's going for it. He's got a Ravager in the midst of it there, and he's going to go for the pressure. He doesn't have quite as many roaches, but he does have a lot of speed Zerglings, and down goes the Ravager shot, takes out a couple of drones, and he looks like he's going to get a solid surround here on these remaining roaches as they drive back. They retreat. A backup Ravager coming in as well. Here for Snoot. Snoot is crushing the natural again.
Snoot doing such a good job using those speed Zerglings to surround the units and make it so they can't escape or get to those more advantageous angles. And just sheer volume of units is going to do it.
What a great start here for Snoot. Uncharacteristically aggressive.
Thanks you. Yeah, wow, from Mike Morheim. Pizza's on everybody, he says. That's cool.
Also, he said, been a big fan for 5 years now. Watch all your streams. Love your content, Senpai. Thank you. Okay,
what a guy. What a kind guy.
He's a wonderful man. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Arena as your second map for the best of 5 series here between this man right here, currently down 1 game in the best of 5. In the Red Trunks playing, give it up for Envious Violet. I probably shouldn't call him Envious Violet. That makes him sound like he's jealous.
To be fair, it's their team.
That is true. In the northwest position. Bear in mind, close by, we're going to see a lot of Overlord scouting very, very early and possible drop play if yesterday is anything to go by. And the Blue Trunks playing Zerg, up 1 game in this best of 5. Liquid Snoot.
Total Biscuit, I want to go back to something you were talking about that I think is really important in kind of the mental scape of this game. Snoot is typically more of the macro-oriented player. Of course, in ZvZ, that rhetoric a little bit goes out the window because both players are going to be on the aggressive side at some point in a best of 5 especially. But leading out with the game with a cheese, it was an absolute cheese. If that attack does not work, Violet's going to put that game away pretty easily. And then going into game number 2 on Arena, which is pretty much the like, hey, we both have to cheese on this map because it's so weird. I think that's going to do a little bit of mental work on Violet. He's like, okay, Snoot, you're all over the place. I don't know what to expect from you.
Yeah, you would not blame him for feeling a little bit gun-shy after that first game. Violet's performance, as was mentioned by our panel quite recently, prior to this map, has been very good lately.
Yeah.
You know, when players like Violet of that caliber tend to disappear for a while, when they resurge in a big way, and they tend to make a big impact on the scene. But, you know, Snoot has always been there, always consistent, and as people have pointed out, since Legacy of the Void, Snoot's results have been ridiculous. So we're seeing very, very even builds, like up to the nanosecond coming from both of these players here. Hatchery's Queen's going to finish at exactly the same time. New Queen starting at the same time. Scouting information is very easy to acquire on this map simply because it is close by air, and as you're probably aware now in Legacy of the Void, you can get speed overlords very fast as well. So that also makes drop potential an interesting possibility, and I love watching that. I love a well-executed drop more so than anything else. But we're seeing an early Roach Warren here from Violet.
And this is, wow, and as you just said, Total Biscuit, mirrored up right there. So the Roach Warren's very similar in timing as well, both players having a very similar idea. But this is very Violet, by the way. Violet is the original aggressive Zerg. This guy is attacking you at all times. He will chop down his economy to get those extra units out there, and he will be very aggressive. And that's how he wants to come back in game number 2. Both players have a similar idea. So kind of the question here then is, as you were pointing out with that Overlord scouting that is abundant, that whole ramp can just be riddled with the eyes of Overlords. Who's gonna, it's a game of chicken. Who's gonna back out first? Like, I'm gonna start making drones. Well, that could be the right or wrong choice at that moment in time. That's why it's so awesome watching these top caliber players make those decisions.
Wow, okay, I think we just saw the decision made. Cards are on the table, but as it turns out, Violet is also surging a few Roaches out as well. He started with 4, he's now surged up to 8, but we see 10 coming out of Snoot. Overlord started at the same time. They have exactly the same idea here. Yeah. We're going to see Roaches smash into each other, but here's the first key difference. 6 Zerglings down for Violet, whereas 3 drones for Snoot. So Snoot wants to try and squeeze in a little bit extra economy.
But look at that, Tobiscuit. The 3 drones will equalize the
Yes,
number
it
of
will.
drones.
This is silly. This is ridiculous. I mean, but it's Zerg versus Zerg between 2 equally matched players. I guess it's not that surprising when you think about it. And Snoot decides, however, he's going to move across the map. And there's Violet retreating. And you've got to take into account the defender's advantage in this particular situation. And he's going for it. Violet seems to have the lead, and of course with the Queen back up as well, this is not a fight that Snoot should be able to win unless he has a great concave, and now he's being forced back into a corridor.
He's doing okay for himself. I was a little bit worried because actually behind that he was making as many as 7 drones, so there was that was never a real attack. That was always going to be kind of a misrepresentation. Exactly. But Violet almost got the surround on those roaches, and if he loses all those roaches with that Queen backup, as you pointed out, a couple of Zerglings there, and the defender's advantage for Violet, that could actually be very, very bad for Snoot. But he evades the crisis, pulls back, and again, if you guys can look just at the bottom there, you can see very similar drone count, army supply, very close, really not that different. But this game is intense in the sense that both these players are so close to each other from that little ramp. It's not easy to get through that, but if you can get through that, the distance between the two mains it's nothing. It's very short.
Interesting distinction now, as pointed out by the Observer, but now we see the same thing coming out of Snoot. A first Ravager put down, and of course, if you go for a roach-heavy composition, Ravagers are the next logical step. They do have that range advantage. They do have that ability, which is wonderful in ZvZ prior to Speed Overlords coming out. You can snipe without needing Hydralisks or bring your Queens away, an Overlord, which is a brand new dynamic in this matchup that's interesting to watch, and it can give a nice little edge over your opponent. They're going to have to rebuild that Overlord, and they also lose the scouting information.
You're exactly right, Total Biscuit. Like, it does so much different things in the matchup.
Back of the net right there from Violet. Really nice shot, and Snoot will not be happy with that.
No, and I mean, as you said, the cost is very obvious to us all. It's the scouting, it's the cost of the Overlord itself, but also it kind of affects just, again, the mental aspect of this game. Both players know that at any moment in time, this could spill out into all-out war, and that's ZvZ entirely as well. Without having those Overlords, now we're having to do things like send Changelings, maybe use some Speedlings, something, or Speed Overlords, as you said earlier. Something has to happen, otherwise the game gets very dangerous.
Well, Snoot checks, and he sees that the HP of those rocks is starting to drop. He didn't see what was on the other side, but he knows there is an aggressive push coming his way.
Hey, Mike Morheim with another donation of pizzas for everyone. That's absolutely incredible.
That's very, very generous there from him. Absolutely wonderful. In the meantime, we see Lairtech coming out of Snoot, which is a little interesting, and +1 attack as well. So now techs have finally diverged between these two players. We're going to see a lot of Speedlings coming out here from Violet as well. And,
a lot.
We're looking at the army count. It's very similar, but can we see the army composition? Yeah, we see a big Ravager advantage for Violet, but I'm really worried about Violet's lack of roaches. I mean, look at how many Snoot has, especially with the defender's advantage versus Violet. Will the Ravagers and the Speedlings do the job? We're about to find out. The Concave is already prepared. However, the Speedlings disrupted. Huge amounts of Ravager volleys going off in the center of that force, and we see a lot of Lings coming around for the flank, trying to stop Snoot's forces from escaping, and I think that Violet is getting the better end of it, but that's a lot of really low health roaches. The drone's coming off the line. Snoot realizes, uh-oh, maybe not. A couple of Ravager shots go in the center, pick up another Ravager as well there. The defense is starting to even out.
And I love this attack from Violet, using those Zerglings to try and either hold the roaches in place or put them in a corner where the Ravager Bile can then do its AoE damage. Yeah. And I really actually felt pretty bad for Violet going into that fight, but he does secure for himself, well, at least at the time, a slight supply advantage. I think the attack was okay. The danger here, no, actually Violet's up in drones. See, I was doing that thing where I was leading. I was like, surely he has less drones. No, he actually has
just
a couple
two more. Yeah, there's 8 more coming out for Snoot, though, so he's going to equalize. I mean, the problem with Snoot, of course, is he took his drones off the line for a second. I don't think he lost too many in the process. Look at the supply advantage for Violet there, 69, 73 army supply now to 53. There is an upgrade in the form of +1 attack here for Snoot, which I think did kick in the middle of that fight, which may have given him a little bit of an edge there, and now he's going to push knowing his opponent does not have that. But that's a much larger army, I think, than Snoot was necessarily expecting.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because I'm learning a little bit on the fly with the difference. I mean, Roaches are just so much better than Zerglings, but if the Zerglings can fulfill the role of putting those Roaches into a spot and letting the Ravager Corrosive Bile do the AoE damage to them, then of course they make up the difference in their effectiveness and in their supply.
Yes.
And Violet was able to kind of do that there. It was a little bit of a wash, but I was worried because Snoot has that +1 upgrade advantage like you talked about, and he just had so many more roaches. It was something like 30+ versus as few as 10, but way more Zerglings and, of course, way more Ravagers. But the fight ended up being kind of a wash. So very interesting seeing different army compositions clash at that moment in time.
Yeah, now we're seeing again even, but
this might be
+1
bad.
has kicked in.
They want us around.
Oh, can he get it? He's trying to drive around the side there. Now the Ravager shots are going to land right in the center. That is big damage for both sides right there. But the we see the Roaches coming in from the right flank, trying to focus down the Ravager. Snoot's trying to push it back right now. Couple of missed Ravager shots right here. Nice dodging from Snoot. Snoot actually comes off from that exchange again with an advantage, probably because of the upgrade. Has a bit of an army lead. Oh, just a cheeky little pick-off on the way out there as well.
Yeah.
And now it's the 138 supply to 108.
And I'm almost wondering, too, if there's a lifespan for the effectiveness of those Zerglings in that role. As the game goes on and the Roach count just gets so darn high, like, that surround was perfect, but they weren't able to do the damage they needed to. We're going to have another clash here. Huge supply advantage for Snoot. He is pushing forward. No Zerglings for the lesser-manned army of Violet, and the Roaches are piling in.
Again.
2-0.
Snoot. That was a brutal one right there. Violet takes...
But I almost wonder, and this is almost that silly, unfair caster thing to do, I wonder if Violet missed a couple injects or a production cycle, because there was just kind of a gap there where, like, his attack lost its win in the sails. And I guess we won't know, but... Here we go.
It can happen so often in ZvZ, that momentum shift that is perhaps going unseen. But here we are on Dusk Towers, ladies and gentlemen. This is a potential 3-0 sweep for our European Zerg. That would be incredible. But there are plenty more maps to go if Violet can pull this back. Ladies and gentlemen, to the south position on Dusk Towers in the red trunks from Team Envy US. It is Violet. Versus his opponent with the 2-map advantage. He was talking a little bit earlier about how he didn't have too much confidence. He was having a shaky tournament. Well, I think he's found his stride. That, and also he's a dirty liar. In the blue trunks, playing Zerg to the northeast position, it's Liquid Snoot.
Snoot, always his own toughest critic. And, you know, there's no one more apt to do it. But so far, he's been playing a masterful best-of-5. We saw them mirrored openings in that last game, but of course, kind of go different ways in what kind of army compositions we wanted to see. Violet, again, favoring those heavier Zergling counts. Thought it made for an interesting idea. It had some potency earlier on, but I thought it kind of lost that potency as the game went forward. And Snoot, defending, getting for himself kind of an equalizer moment there, and then having the better composition sealing the deal. I thought it's a cool ZvZ, and like I said, I'm really liking ZvZ in Legacy of the Void. I do remember the days of just Roaches butting heads against Roaches in Wings of Liberty forever. Literally forever.
Roach Infester, Roach Infester, and Roach Infester. It was actually quite a while ago that we had the pleasure of casting the IPL 5 final between Violet and Lenok, and that ended up weirdly enough being a best of 8. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it was how they were doing their double elimination at the time, best of 5 followed by a best of 3, and it was a lot of Roach Infestor. This was towards the end of Wings of Liberty, where the Infestor was king. Yep. And it was being used in every matchup to great effect, and it was that. It was just Roaches and Infestors butting heads over and over again. Thankfully, the matchup is a lot more dynamic these days, and we've already seen some interesting clashes of styles, but right now, a mirror between the two. Both only sending out 2 scouting Zerglings, not really overcommitting to an aggressive path yet, and both going for speed early, but hello, that is a Baneling nest coming out right here from Violet.
You know, I was going to ask the question, and I love that he's actually able to deny scouting. That's right. Snoot has shown that he doesn't want to lose these Zerglings for free. Well, not necessarily for free, but for that scouting information. Violet is the guy that wants to be taking risks, wants to be aggressive, wants to make you uncomfortable. And being 0-2 with his back up against the wall in this best of 5, I was wondering, is he going to stick to that script, so to be? Because that is his strength. But of course, one unlucky moment, one bad decision, and he's out of this tournament. But Violet, he's been a gambler, man. He's been the aggressor. He's going to do it. And the Baneling nest has not yet been shown in this best of 5. And yet, here we are. Both players the same idea.
Well, we've got a Roach Warren follow-up here. Roach Baneling, you might think, oh, that's kind of a weird composition, but no, it works very, very well, especially if you're in a big Roach versus Roach situation. We mentioned earlier the range of the Roach is very limited. That means they tend to clump up. So if you can get Banelings in the middle of that, they do a surprising amount of damage, and they can really tip the balance in a Roach versus Roach war. But here we go. Aggression coming on, trying to deny the 3rd hatchery. Defense is coming down here, but I think that's enough of a surround. How much is he willing to sacrifice? He cancels it. That was great, and he didn't lose too much in the process either, so that's a good pick off of Violet.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Violet probably made the safer and better choice getting the cancel. He's got his own third behind this, so that's advantage enough. But it was just 3 queens and a couple of Zerglings. So for me,
gone for it?
Well, that's the thing. So for me, as like a layman Zerg, I'm like, kill the queens. It's the best choice. But what Violet doesn't know is maybe there's 20 Zerglings coming up behind that, and then he gets nothing. So I really like his choice here. No! You gotta pay attention, buddy.
Disastrous right there for Violet, as he is not expecting 2 surprise banelings, and suddenly he loses his army supply advantage.
Loses the army supply advantage. His third's all of a sudden looking a little bit more scary. He's got his own roaches coming out, so that's good. But he was actually within the view of those overlords too. So Violet, perhaps that's one of those moments in time where he would like to take back.
I would imagine so. If he had a do-over on that one, he probably would not have run 20 Zerglings into 2 banelings like that. But that gives Snoot an incredible opportunity here. But Violet's response to this is just to say, all right, screw it, units.
More
now,
roaches.
all of them. We see you've got banelings. Okay, if I get enough roaches and I just wrecking ball right into the third, I can do this.
And he's going to reload his Zerglings behind this. I'm almost sure of it. And that baneling timing attack is available to him.
Look at the number of spines going down right here for Snoot. Snoot realizes what's up. He's going to build a huge wall of defenses, and then he's going to transition to mutas while his opponent doesn't have anti-air. So this attack is a ticking time bomb. If it doesn't hit quickly enough, if it doesn't do the damage, then we're going to see serious trouble for Violet.
Yeah, I like Violet's chances, though. There's actually a few drones being snuck out by Snoot behind us. 11 banelings as well. I mean, the banelings are going to do some nice AoE damage here. He has to hold. It all comes down to this.
This is going to be explosive one way or the other. The roaches are already here. The spine's just popping up here. He needs to split those roaches effectively, not take too much damage. Nice snipe on the initial Vanguard of Banelings. He's backing off. It's 53 army supply to 19. He's backing away. He's got to do it. Now is the time. He wants to add more Ravagers to the mix. He can't wait.
He's got enough money for just 3 Mutas right now.
Violet's transitioning out. 14 drones being added, but Mutas being added into the mix as well. With Ravagers, you can maybe pick them off, but Mutas are so quick.
No, it would be a mismatch. Like, yes, they could, but Snoot's not going to fall asleep at that
lucky.
wheel.
Yeah.
So he's going to fall back. This game's going to stabilize a little bit here. The Banelings, I guess, are going to scout forward. They did lose that the Overlord, so they don't necessarily know if the army's still out here. I'd be very surprised if Snoot went all the way across the map. No, he backs up there.
Can't imagine why you want to do that. We see a big mismatch in terms of supply, and that's mostly in roaches, by the way. Infestation Pit coming down here for Snoot. I love that idea. 5 Spore Crawlers coming up for Violet, and he's obviously figured out, of course, Mutalisks, considering I'm losing my Overlords to them right now.
Yeah, and Snoot's going to be able to get a couple of Overlords. With just how few Mutas he has, they don't represent the biggest of threats to the army, so Violet's going to go for it. He goes up there, does not want to take the Baneling hits, is just chewing through the Spine Crows. Here come the Banelings, and they are able to get the clipped up roaches. Violet with a little bit of a micro mistake there as well. They're now chasing the rest of this. The third is getting ravaged, though.
Oh, now he's got the Lings. Oh, wow, that was devastating.
Just Violet his own Zerglings, I think.
Violet is in serious trouble here. Like, you might think, oh, well, Violet's winning here. He's got units. 4 of them. And he lost his massive army supply lead to a couple of little micro mistakes, really, more so than anything else. As you said, he hit his own units with corrosive bile. He can do friendly fire. The Baneling's got a good connection, not once, but twice. And Snoot holds again. And now, Violet, of course, did build a bunch of drones behind this. So you might think, oh, well, that's it for him. No, it's not. The problem is he's behind in terms of tech. We've got a hive on the way here for Snoot already.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. Melee upgrade coming out from Snoot. We're going to probably see an Ultraless transition after this. The supply was actually pretty heavy in favor of Violet towards the end of that, despite, I think, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure they will, but I'm pretty sure the Corrosive Bile blew up most of those Zerglings. The fight could have gone better, but I do think it shifted the at least supply advantage towards Violet, but I do want to hit on something you said, John, because I really agree with it. The tech advantage is heavily in favor of Snoot. Ultralists are king in this matchup. If you don't have your own Ultralists, you better have 30 Mutas, which are a liability in and of themselves because of Vipers, or you have to have a bunch of Lurkers. And we don't see a Hydralisk tech, I don't think, just yet for
no
Violet.
Hydra tech on the map. I think because Violet just finished his lair. 8 minutes 44, and you might think, oh, well, that's not too late. This is Legacy of the Void. That's quite late.
Yeah.
Especially when your opponent is building his Ultralisk cavern right there. That's a bit late. There's no doubt. We see Crackling upgrade coming out here as well for that extra attack speed. This is going to be a brutal now switch back into melee. And I don't know if Violet has what he needs to beat that. He's still building roaches. Now he's adding hydras. We might see lurkers as well, but that might be too little too late.
No, he needs to make a beeline to this, and he's actually not really scouting forward. Like he saw
72 army to 24 right now.
Yeah, I mean, because Snoot's actually just banking all his money because all of a sudden 10 Ultras are going to appear. And, I mean, Violet's got a hidden attack right now. He is scouting good, so there's the Overseer. It's going to be like, hang on, you're on Hive Tech. I got to go now. And, I mean, there's the 5 Ultralists. You're on the clock, buddy, because Roaches, Terran players can tell you how hard it is to bring down an Ultralist. You have to be able to just not get hit by him, like Mutas, or you have to be able to not get hit by him like Lurkers with no detection, I guess. But the options are very limited. Violet's just sitting here. I don't like his chances, man. This is going to get rough.
No, he's waiting, and he's going to be waiting against Ultras plus Infestors. You might think, oh, well, he can kite the Ultralisk. No, you can't. Not if your opponent has Infestors and manages to nail you down with a fungal growth. The addition of the Lurker Pit is a good idea here, but once those Ultras are done, he's going. He's not going to wait.
I think Snoot has a few Infestors as well.
He does.
He's able to fungal them into place and then also use the AoE of the Ultras to kill him. No, Violet, no.
Now is not the time. Like, this should have happened 2 minutes ago. I'm very worried for Violet. He's bringing a lot of queens, which will help, but this is also the slowest march in history across the map. This, he's going to get a nasty surprise. Hello, my name is Ultralisk. Oh, a big hit, and that's 10 roaches down immediately. That did nothing. The Ultralists don't care.
Oh, man. Violet moved out a domestic house cat thinking he is the one that's going to be the aggressor and finds himself looking down the barrel of a tiger. Snoot
the barrel of a tiger. That's why are you giving tigers firearms, Texas? What the hell are you doing?
I mean, that's how dangerous it was, basically. He's going to try to wall in behind, and this is actually a pretty cool move. He's going to try to narrow the space for which the Ultras can get in. Create a little bit of a wall, but there's those queens. They're on the one-way trip.
And his links to surround with the Ultras are going to cleave their way through here. No problem whatsoever. He's a little concerned about those Ravager shots, but he just backs up to safety. And, he's bringing his own queens now. That means immortal Ultralisk. Snoot has found the Fountain of Youth. Those Ultralisks will live forever. And this is awful for Violet. He's going to have to put on an incredible defense here.
He's got the Lurkers, though, in the back.
He does.
They are a little bit clumped up. There are Overseers here, and if those Ultras can get on top of them, they're going to go bye-bye. There
Double
it is.
fungal. That's a lot of damage. The Cleaves are doing the job here. And he's got detection. The Lurkers, will he be able to clean it up? He's standing in a line and taking a lot of damage from the Lurkers. But look at Violet's supply. It's not enough. There's more coming in here from Snoot. Yeah, that looked great, but that was only one wave. The waves continue to come in. Snoot is hammering home, and they're crashing against the rocks, and Violet is just eroding before our very eyes.
We were expecting a tough match.
GG! 3-0 clean sweep for Snoot.
Yeah, and Snoot absolutely demolishes him. I mean, Violet